Good evening. I call the Johnson City Board of Commissioners meeting on Thursday, November 19th, 2020 to order. Tonight, we are meeting electronically under the authority of Governor Bill Lee's Executive Order number 63. Ms. Jennings, to meet the requirements of that, we must call the roll of the commissioners who are present.
Commissioner Calhoun.
Here.
Commissioner Fowler.
Here.
Commissioner Hunter. Commissioner Hunter, you're on mute.
Sorry, yes.
You're fine. Vice Mayor Wise.
Here.
Mayor Brock.
Here. Thank you. Tonight, we're honored to have Pastor Spencer Teal with us from Redstone Church, who is going to lead our invocation. Followed by that, if we would all stand for the pledge. Pastor?
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. I know that leadership is very stressful in the year 2020. So it's just a privilege to pray for all of us tonight. So let's pray. So Lord, we pray tonight for a special, even a divine strength for every leader that's in this room tonight. We pray that as we lead, that we do not rely on ourselves, but instead what we rely upon is you. So your scripture is very clear that when we seek wisdom, we seek something that comes from heaven first, and that it allows us to have something that is pure, allows us to have something that is peace-loving, this wisdom that comes from you that is impartial and even sincere. And so as these men and these women lead our community, we pray that you grant them true compassion and that you would embolden them to have sacrificial love as they lead. And so, God, we pray now, Jesus, that we will honor you with both our lives and our words. In your name we pray. Amen.
Excuse me. We'll have a flag on the screen, and when that appears, we will stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Peterson, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Your first order of business this evening is consideration of the minutes from your meeting held on Thursday, November 3rd.
Okay, Commissioners, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All right, first motion and a second. Any other discussion? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun.
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler.
I will abstain since I wasn't present.
Commissioner Hunter.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise.
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Next order of business is to present a proclamation recognizing Bryan Bentley as the Tri-Cities Golf Professional of the Year. Mayor?
I believe we have a video that was shot over at the golf course a couple of days ago.
Well, thanks everybody for coming out today. We're here on the first tee box at Pine Oaks Golf Course for a real special celebration today, as we're going to recognize our golf pro, Bryan Bentley. Bryan has only been here a year and a half, but the changes over here at Pine Oaks have been amazing, and we know that we are continuing to grow into a first-class municipal golf course, and more great things on the horizon. But Bryan, the reason we're here today is to recognize you as the Golf Pro of the Year that was extended to you in the Tri-Cities area. And so for that, I'm very honored to read this proclamation to you. Bryan Bentley began his career with the City of Johnson City as a golf manager and head golf professional at the Pine Oaks Golf Course in June of 2019. And whereas, in addition to serving as a Professional Golf Association PGA teaching professional, Bryan has been a driving force in the development of a new 4-acre golf practice facility and increasing community interest in the game of golf. And whereas Bryan has recently been named as the Tri-City Golf Professional of the Year after nomination by members of the Tri-City chapter of the PGA. And whereas established in 1967, The PGA Golf Pro of the Year Award is the highest honor paid to a PGA golf professional who has demonstrated outstanding leadership qualities, strong moral character, maintained a substantial record of service to the association and game of golf, and is well regarded as a model PGA professional. And whereas the award is presented to Bryan based on his overall performance as a golf professional, service to his section and the association for his leadership ability, image, and the ability to inspire fellow professionals and promotion and growth of the game of golf. And whereas Bryan is esteemed for his outstanding handling of the golf course through the pandemic, his instrumental role in the construction of a driving range to benefit the community residents and golf course revenues, and his high level of activity in chapter activities. And whereas Bryan is now eligible for the Tennessee Section PGA Award to be announced in February, now therefore I, Jenny L. Brock, and a golfer, Mayor of the City of Johnson City, officially congratulate Bryan Bentley for achieving this honor and for his outstanding leadership and service to the city. And Bryan, this not only brings recognition to you for your service and your leadership and a role model in the game of golf, but it's brought great visibility to the Pine Oaks Golf Course as well. And so we're really, really proud of you. And I'm going to let your boss over here, James Ellis, say a few words.
On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department, I can tell you it's an honor for us to have you in Johnson City and for you to have chosen Pine Oaks as your landing spot. Congratulations on the recognition. It's well deserved. Your commitment to Pine Oaks and the golf community and the significant contributions that you've made in a short tenure have really paid dividends for Johnson City. So again, congratulations.
Bryan, you want to say anything? Can we get enough volume here to hear him?
I guess first of all, I want to thank everybody here, you Mayor, Mr. Stahl, Mr. Ellis, for giving me the opportunity to come here to make this my landing spot, my family's landing spot. But I don't think any golf pro wins this award without a good staff. From day one, I said I've been very fortunate to have Bill Fuller on heading up the maintenance staff, and then all the guys in the golf shop, Ray Weber, Dave Farrell, Dwayne Edwards, one of our seasonals this year, stepped up big time during the pandemic. And just from top to bottom, everybody from maintenance to golf that stepped up during this crazy year to see everything that's gone on out here at the golf course this year. It's been very encouraging, and then obviously this has been a pleasant surprise being nominated for this award.
Well, it's great, Bryan, and this is kind of our trial. Now that the commission is not meeting in person, we're meeting electronically. We thought on proclamations we would normally have you down at City Hall during our meeting. Since we won't be doing that, we thought we'd try to get some video, and then we'll just pipe the video in on Thursday night to show that we've read the proclamation. So what I want to do is present this to you.
Thank you.
We'll give you an elbow bump.
There you go. Thank you all.
Okay, our new technology, so we can do some of these proclamations in person. And we certainly are proud of Bryan, and I know Todd, you and Larry, and our other golfing commissioners, John, and Joe, we're gonna get you out there and give you some lessons, but I know you recognize what it takes to get this award as a PGA professional. So we're doing very well over at Pine Oaks. This is great. So, okay, Mr. Peterson, we'll go on.
Thank you, ma'am. Your next order of business is consideration, excuse me, of a beer license application for Rockin' 4M Sausage Company and Grill located at 612 Lyle Street, Suite 101. This property is appropriately zoned. The appropriate reviews have been made, finding no disqualifying factors, and we would recommend your approval.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions of staff before I ask for a motion?
Move for approval.
Okay, this motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. And we don't have the applicants in the meeting. So before we vote, Mr. Peterson, I would normally ask them if they have read the rules and regulations about the sale of alcohol in Johnson City and if they abide by them. So if you will make sure staff does that on our behalf, we'd appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise,
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Your next order of business is consideration of the consent agenda.
Commissioners, are there items you would like to pull for further discussion? We'll start with you, Commissioner Hunter.
No, ma'am.
All right. Commissioner Calhoun?
No problem with this, but I'd like to hear somebody just talk a little bit about 6.1.5. Since we're talking golf tonight, I think that everybody should know what's going on with that memorandum of agreement. It's a good idea.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Fowler?
None for me.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
No, thank you.
All right, I think we're good. I was going to bring that one up to Commissioner Calhoun, so we will, I think I see Mr. Stahl on the call. Do you want to give us a little update on the memorandum of understanding with the Tennessee Golf Foundation?
Certainly. Last month, the representatives from the Tennessee Golf Foundation, including the president, Mr. Turnbow, as well as Cody Weems, the Tri-Cities director for Tennessee Golf Foundation, came before the Golf Advisory Board at Pine Oaks and presented a partnership concept to provide a continuing instructional presence at Pine Oaks, along with a financial commitment to design and build a learning center facility adjacent to the new practice facility, which would also include a Tennessee Golf Foundation staff member to provide such instruction, and they would pay for that staff member. And the golf board met to review the proposal, which you should receive the initial proposal from the TGF, and at its meeting last month, unanimously recommended that the City Commission consider this concept and this partnership. The Commission, again, as I stated before, the Commission may recall that there was great interest when we closed Buffalo Valley Golf Course that we reinvest in Pine Oaks, not just in infrastructure for the course, but also in marketing and development, which included, of course, ways to get increased play at the golf course, a partnership with some other possible supporters and businesses, as well as instructional opportunities. And in line with the proclamation that you just extended to Bryan Bentley, Mayor, this is part of his work that he was very active in trying to establish new partnership opportunities, reach out to different organizations, and basically begin marketing Pine Oaks in the game of golf. And in response to that and his efforts, and again, to be fair, the efforts of the Tennessee Golf Foundation, this proposal was presented that where they would finance and work to construct a learning facility, provide a staff member for that. The city's responsibilities, we would be the owner of the facility, but at the same time, they would provide all annual maintenance operations for the learning center and funding for all costs associated with architectural schematics, site plan, and final design construction documents. We would be involved with the preparation of the area for development, grading, and any stormwater drainage improvements and utility extensions to the site. And there would also be an extension of all building utilities. They would be stubbed out to the connection of the site, and the rent that they would pay, basically in exchange for doing this work, we would provide the utilities at the site, and they would pick up and run with an instructional program that we think would be a great asset for the future. This is a long-term lease. It's a lease that can be renewed with the mutual consent of both parties, and we feel that this is an exciting partnership and an exciting improvement that will complement the practice facility and really be a great asset for Pine Oaks for many years to come.
And I might just add to that too, the building that will be built will house 2 teaching studios that will include simulators so you can have year-round golf instruction at Pine Oaks, in addition to golfers who may want to come and use it to practice or to have entertainment, to bring their buddies over and, play Pebble Beach on the simulators or something like that. So it really is a great differentiator for the course. I mean, it takes us up so many notches. I can't even count them all. And it's just going to be an exciting partnership. The Tennessee Golf Foundation is an outstanding organization that works statewide with some tremendously visible investors who contribute to the game of golf through the Tennessee Golf Foundation. So this will be an exciting partnership, and I think just to move in the right direction as we see Pine Oaks really taking on a new breath of air. And the rounds of golf over there this year have really gone up, skyrocketed. During the COVID, particularly golfers can get out and kind of stay away from each other. But anyway, exciting thing. So Larry, did you have some other things you wanted to comment on it?
Just congratulations to everybody that worked on that project. Like the mayor says, it's the next step to that really being a first-class operation. Thank you.
Okay, that's the item we pulled. Is there a motion to pass the consent agenda?
Move for approval.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any other comments? Ms. Jennings?
Mr. Calhoun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Wise,
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Thank
Yes.
you. Your next order of business is consideration of ordinance number 4759-20. An ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Johnson City, Tennessee, being part of the appendix to ordinance number 1519, entitled "An Ordinance to Adopt a Code of Laws and Ordinances for the City of Johnson City, Tennessee, and to repeal all laws and ordinances in conflict therewith, and amendatory thereof by changing from R2 low density residential to R2C low density residential and RM5 manufactured home park zoning for portions of certain properties with tax map identification 53G Group A parcel 11.01 and parcel identified as tax map 53G Group A parcel 11.02 is ready for your consideration on first reading. Mr. Mitchell, if you would explain the item, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. So we apologize for that convoluted title there, but I'll explain why. Allow me to share my screen here. Can everyone see my zoning map? Or are you just seeing
Yes.
my children?
No, we see the map.
Okay, great. Thank you. On the screen here is, I'm zoomed out, so I just want to give you an idea of the general area. This is 3323 McKinley Road. You'll see over here on the right-hand side is Sunrise Valley subdivision. If I was to pull the map down and you were to hop over the railroad tracks, you would see this would be near the back of the West Market Street Walmart. So if you were to come from the West Market Street Walmart, jump over the railroad tracks, come down McKinley Road, you'll see that much of this is still out in the county. Where you do not see a color, that's still in the county. So we're going to zoom in. This one parcel, which is technically a donut hole, falls within our corporate limits and zoning jurisdiction. This is a piece of property that we are actually seeking to temporarily split zone. You have two parcels right now under the same address, 3323. But that one address serves a single stick-built home, which is here on the left-hand side. That's the R2 zoning. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single-wide manufactured homes in the RM5. The property owner for this site is seeking to subdivide and sell off the stick-built home. And so in order to subdivide this property, he needs to do the subdivision, and then, but before he can do the subdivision, he has to have the proper zoning in place so that he can create the appropriate size lot. So that's the reason to seek R2C for the single family home, and then to simply add the RM5 to this area back in here, which is currently R2. So the RM5 zoning will essentially cut across the backyard of the home and then reach down to McKinley Road, grab the rest of the driveway. So again, it's a, forgive me, I don't know why my phone's ringing, to temporarily split zone the property so that he can subdivide it in the future. This went through the Planning Commission. It is consistent with your future land use map of the comprehensive plan, and the Planning Commission was unanimous in their recommendation of approval. I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
Questions? I do have some, but I'll throw it out to the commissioners first. Are there any questions to Mr. Mitchell? Or we'll let Commissioner Calhoun, as our planning commissioner representative, is there any comments you'd like to make on this property?
Lots of questions at the Planning Commission about, it's still, sort of a donut hole, but as it says in the agenda, this is a win-win for all parties. It sort of cleans something up a bit that has been sort of strangely designed there for a while, and the Planning Commission felt this was a good move.
Okay. Other questions? Okay. Mr. Mitchell, just one question. I want to make sure I understand this correctly. The backside of the R2C would be kind of lopped off and it would be rezoned RM5.
That is correct. So allow me to, I'm going to create a box here. So, and I'm going to show you what the R2C would look like. So coming from the center line of the road, following this general vicinity, the R2C would essentially look like that. And then the rest of the entire lot would be RM5. What that does is that creates the appropriate size lot for the stick-built home, for that single family home, to sit on its own parcel, and then for the 5 single-wide manufactured homes, plus the associated driveways and parking areas for those manufactured homes, to all be on their own lot, and then have the appropriate zoning.
Is the intent to expand the mobile homes, more mobile homes on that property
No,
by
ma'am.
adding that little slice?
No, ma'am, not based on information we received from the property owner. They would be limited in their ability to add units anyway because of zoning and building code requirements.
Okay, you're just talking about the number that can be on a certain space. They have so much space around it. Okay, and the house itself, is that the owner's house and he's going to continue to live there?
No, ma'am, that's actually what he's looking to sell. He's looking to, he owns all of this, and he has an interested party, a third party interested in purchasing the stick-built home.
All right, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yes,
Any
ma'am.
other questions, Mr. Mitchell? All right, we'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
All right.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay. Ms. Jennings, if you call the roll.
Commissioner Calhoun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise,
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes.
The next item is consideration of ordinance number 4757-20. An ordinance to amend Article 2 definitions, Article 6 use requirements by district, Article 9 sidewalk regulations, Article 11 parking regulations, and Article 12 landscape regulations in the City of Johnson City zoning ordinance as it relates to child care facilities. This is ready for your consideration on second reading. There will not be a public hearing this evening. Since we went to electronic meetings, there was inadequate time to properly advertise this for consideration this evening. Public hearing will be at your third reading, occurring at the next meeting, I believe, on December the 3rd.
And Mr. Peterson, if you just real quickly give an overview of why we're doing this.
Okay. If you don't mind, Mayor, let Mr. Mitchell do that. He's probably more succinct with it than I.
Okay.
And I will make it quick. I'll share my screen. We'll just do one slide, Mayor. My goodness.
Can I ask a question? Is that Charlie calling you?
I have
I
no
think
idea.
Charlie's just been calling you every time you're on the screen.
I don't know.
I'm not doing that. I'm prone to do that. I'm not.
I'm not sure what's going on there. Somebody, it must be somebody watching. But I'll just keep it on this one screen here. This does a good job of simplifying the request. We are really trying to, quote unquote, clean up our child care standards in the zoning ordinance by adopting the same definitions that the state uses, and then amending the residential child care homes as well as the commercial or child care centers, making them a permitted use as opposed to a special exception, eliminating a 1.5 acre requirement, allowing them to be on local roads, eliminating an unnecessary screening requirement. And then as it relates to the child care centers, which are your larger commercial centers, eliminating certain prohibitions or other barriers to entry. I'll just wrap up by saying that a member of the State Department of Health and Human Services came and spoke at the Planning Commission meeting, speaking in favor of this text amendment, reducing or removing barriers to entry for childcare in both residential settings and commercial settings. What that does is that opens up opportunity for people to get properly licensed. And when they're properly licensed, then there's an opportunity for the state to inspect and know where our children are and can be properly cared for. So Planning Commission unanimously recommends this, and this was approved by you on first reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
I would move approval.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise,
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes.
This takes us to other business. The first item for your consideration is consider approval of a resolution supporting the Washington County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Litigation Plan. As you recall, this was presented to you last meeting and you approved it. Upon our attempt to submit it to the state, they require a resolution be accompanying that approval. So what is before you this evening is a resolution acknowledging that you have reviewed it and approved it, and nothing has changed in the mitigation plan since you saw it last week or 2 weeks ago.
Okay, just the need for more paperwork. Okay, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Okay, Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise,
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes.
The next order of business is consideration of approval of an interdivision loan amendment between the City of Johnson City, Tennessee Valley Authority, and Bright Ridge. In September 2018, the city entered into an agreement with TVA and Bright Ridge, which allowed the electrical distribution division of Bright Ridge to loan money to its broadband division to begin the implementation and deployment of broadband throughout the Bright Ridge service area. What's before you tonight is an amendment to that agreement, and the amendment, the main part of the amendment that affects us is that we agree that at any time the broadband division becomes delinquent or fails to pay their annual debt service payment to the electrical distribution division of broadband, then we agree that the electrical distribution division of Bright Ridge doesn't have to pay their pilot payment until such time that those loan payments are current. This is exactly the same arrangement that was approved in 2018. It's exactly the same arrangement that we have between ourselves, Bright Ridge, and TVA as it relates to payments from Bright Ridge to the TVA for the purchase of electricity to be distributed throughout their system. This concept of an interdivision loan allows one division of Bright Ridge to borrow money from the other division at interest rates typically lower than what they can get on the open bond market. It also allows any interest earnings that occur to stay within the Bright Ridge organization to help them defer the cost of operations. The agreement in 2018 set the maximum loan amount between the two divisions at $35 million. The initial loan was in the amount of $22 million at 4% interest. What is being contemplated now is to borrow the balance of the $35 million, which would be $13 million. And TVA has agreed to allow them to make that loan at an interest rate of 2.5%. So this certainly allows Bright Ridge to deploy broadband throughout our community and their service area much quicker and much more cost effectively. We have reviewed this and would recommend your approval.
Okay, commissioners, are there any other questions? We did discuss this Monday night on our agenda review, and just remind you that TVA highly regulates their distributor. So on the first part of this, that one couldn't pay the other and therefore would have to relinquish the in lieu of taxes. The chances of that happening with TVA regulating the distributor are very, very slight that it could ever happen. So anyway, as the representative on the Bright Ridge board, I just add that to it. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any other questions? I want to make sure everybody's satisfied before we call for a vote. Okay, Ms. Jennings.
Commissioner Calhoun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise,
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Your next order of business is the presentation of the general obligation plan of refunding, Comptroller's letter, and report from the Director of the Division of Local Government Finance. Ms. Jennings, I'll let you explain this one, please, ma'am.
Okay. In conjunction with the $29 million that you will be considering in the resolution on the agenda just past this item, we have the opportunity to refinance about $6.5 million to $7 million of outstanding debt. The debt currently matures in 2025. We have the opportunity to save almost $500,000 or 6.5% net present value. that exceeds our threshold of 3% that's set in our policy. So it's more than double what we would require before we would refinance debt. And although $500,000 doesn't seem like a lot, we're going to be spreading that $500,000 over the next 5 years. So it's average of about $100,000 a year. It does, the way it is split out right now, it's about 88% general fund and about 12% the PEP fund. So it's going to benefit both funds, the savings will, over the next 5-year period. Before we can consider any bond resolution, I have to present the letter from the Comptroller's office to you. So this is merely a formal presentation to you of that letter. The Comptroller's office has not really opined, but they have agreed that our plan is a sound plan, that it does meet the requirements of our local policy. It meets the requirements of the Comptroller's office, and they deem this to be something worthy of going forward with. So I present to you the Comptroller's report, and we will make sure that that's put into the official record. It has already been posted on the city's website as also required by the Comptroller's office.
Okay.
No actions required. So.
No actions required. Is there anyone who needs additional explanation or has comments? Okay. I think we are having some telephone problems. Everybody seems
That's
to be
mine now.
No, I mean, yeah, Charlie Stone was calling my phone, but he really wasn't calling it. So, yeah, it's like everybody's getting calls. Pete, one came through from your phone too, so we may have a hacker.
Yeah,
I think we do, because there's nobody in my office.
Yeah, this one says 6003.
Yeah. So that's what I guess Preston was getting calls from someone.
We've been hacked. Phantom
caller. Yeah, I was getting calls from Charlie Stahl. I said, he knows I'm on this.
That wasn't me.
I can't answer that call, and you just kept calling back. So anyway,
I still think it was Charlie.
It wasn't me.
It was on my phone. It was definitely him, but it wasn't him. All right. Well, so if phones keep ringing, then we'll know that. Okay. No actions needed on that. So Pete, go ahead.
Your next order of business is consideration of bond resolution for the purpose of refinancing outstanding debt, as well as the issuance of new general obligation debt. This issue totals $36 million. It's a not to exceed amount. Approximately 29 million of that is new debt. The balance being the refinancing that we just discussed. The items that you have authorized to be included in this debt issue are is the new financial software and a fire truck in the general fund. In the PEP fund, it is some school roofs, parking lot resurfacings, Indian Trail storage, which I'm glad to tell you that project is getting started this week. Some storage at the school maintenance facility. It's the balance of the funding required to complete the Liberty Bell cafeteria gymnasium building. New additions at Southside, Lake Ridge, and Woodland. In the fleet management group, that's money to replace radios. Solid waste, there is $1 million there for property acquisition and development of storage next to Iris Glen. And there is $5 million in here for stormwater fund to be used on the West Walnut Street redevelopment project. That's a quick highlight, and if you have further questions, I'm sure Janet can provide the details on them.
All right, commissioners, any comments or questions on the list of items that will be funded through this bond issuance? Okay, do we have a motion?
I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. All right, Ms. Jennings?
Commissioner Calhoun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wise,
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Right now, the sale is scheduled to occur on December 1st. Mayor, I'll let you know how that schedule stands with closing on the 15th. So the funds will be coming very soon.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. Your next order of business is consideration of an interlocal agreement between the City of Johnson City and Washington County as it relates to school construction funding. As you are well aware, this has been a lengthy process and has been an ongoing discussion between the city and the county. The city of Jonesboro and Washington County have entered into an agreement, whereas Jonesboro is borrowing approximately $33 million to build a new K-8 school and athletic facilities at that school. And in turn, they have a lease purchase agreement with Washington County, where Washington County will lease it with the option to buy for the purposes of accommodating their K-8 students that are currently in the Jonesboro school. In a historical arrangement, in most cases, the Washington County would issue the bonds themselves, and per state code, Title 49, they are required to share the proceeds of the issuance of bonds proportionately based on the ADM or average daily membership of each local education agency within the county. In Washington County, that ratio is approximately 52 to 48%, I believe, the last time I looked. So issuing bonds to build a $33 million school building under the historical process would have probably generated somewhere in the neighborhood of $28 or $29 million for the city of Johnson City. Under the current arrangement, let me rephrase that. We have consulted numerous attorneys through this process as to the legality of the Jonesboro deal and whether or not there is statute that would require Washington County to share money with us for school construction. The answer we got approximately a year ago when we first got into these discussions was it's most likely going to be found in a court to be a legal agreement between Jonesboro and Washington County, and it's most likely going to be found that Washington County is not required to share any proceeds with Johnson City because of the way the Jonesboro-Washington County agreement is structured. We have consulted with the state attorney general's office as well as the state comptroller's office. And the response from the attorney general's office was that they don't provide legal advice to local governments and referred us to make inquiry of MTAS. Ms. Santos made inquiry of MTAS, and we received a similar response from MTAS that they don't provide legal advice to local governments. They are there as a reference agency, but they don't provide legal advice. So we turned to the state comptroller's office, and the questions asked in general terms were the way that the Jonesboro-Washington County agreement is structured. Is the debt issued considered indebtedness by Washington County? And the second question was, if it's not considered indebtedness, is it considered an operating expense? As I pointed out, bonded indebtedness issued by Washington County has to be shared by statute. There's another section of TCA Title 49 that requires all appropriations by the county to the county school system for the purpose of operating expenses be shared proportionately with all LEAs within the county. So as you all are aware, anytime that Washington County appropriates money to Washington County schools for operations, city schools get their proportionate share of that money. The response from the Comptroller's office was this, that since Jonesboro actually issued the bonds, then the section of TCA that talks about bond proceeds must be shared doesn't apply here because Washington County did not issue bonds. They have a lease purchase agreement. So the requirement to share bond proceeds doesn't exist in this case, in the opinion of the Comptroller's office, because Washington County did not issue bonds. So the second question comes up, if they don't have to share those proceeds, then isn't it an operating expense? And the response there is no. A lease purchase agreement is considered a debt instrument for the purposes of the Comptroller's office. So it's not an operating expense. So in essence, Washington County didn't issue bonds, so they don't have to share proceeds. Their lease purchase agreement is a debt instrument, so it's carried on their books as a long-term lease purchase, which shows up as an indebtedness, but it's not a bonded indebtedness. So we don't get operating expenses and we don't get bond proceed sharing as well. As you all are aware, after several months of negotiations with Washington County, the mayor and I came up with an agreement that has been properly approved by Washington County Commission, which calls for Washington County to pay us $500,000 per year for 25 years, which will net us $12,500,000. That money must be used only for school construction. It cannot be used for school operations. So as you all are aware, with the Southside Woodland and Lake Ridge projects, as well as the expansion of Indian Trail, and at some point in time, the construction of a new elementary school, we have plenty of school construction funding needs, and this will certainly help us offset part of that cost. The agreement has not changed since the last time you saw it last March. So at this point, I'll take questions and answer any concerns or questions you may have.
Pete, I'd just like to make a comment for those who are watching, hopefully on TV tonight. The reason the county shares these funds with us is because all city residents pay county taxes. And so it's written in a way that when county taxes are paid or are used for education, it is shared among all the educational systems in that county. So we are funding a big part of, the education in both Johnson City and Washington County. Are there any other questions on this? Just the next steps. Will this have to go back to the county commission, or was this the final? They voted it, and it was for us to vote on.
Yes, ma'am. They have approved this document as written.
Okay. All right, commissioners, turn it over to you. What's your pleasure?
All right, I'll make it. Now my phone's ringing.
Charlie, stop
Charlie?
it.
I would point out one other thing that's very relevant. There is an existing court case, City of Athens versus McMinn County. And the courts in that case opined or ruled that a county can accumulate cash and perform school construction on a cash basis and not have to share any money with any other LEA within that county. So I guess one of the other positions that the county could choose to take if we decided not to approve this agreement and to pursue court proceedings against the county always has the option of doing nothing until they accumulate enough cash to pay cash for the school construction. And we know absolutely, based on the McMinn County case, that we would be entitled to no money whatsoever from Washington County. So Washington County has two options here. They can go through with what they've got, and we can agree to I'll use the word settle for $12.5 million, or we could pursue court proceedings and maybe win, probably lose, or the county just put the brakes on the project at this point, accumulate cash until they can pay for the project.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and speak up in favor of us accepting this negotiated deal that Mr. Peterson and Mayor Randy worked hard on. And the reason why is, we know the school system is requesting a new town acres. This money coming in on this regular cycle like this would, now we don't know what the future costs are going to be, but if it were today, would probably offset at least half the debt service on the construction of a new town acres. And so our challenge would be that we just have to find the remainder of funding for that school. If we don't take it, if we go to court, we lose, then we wind up with nothing. So we would be looking for the entire amount for the new town acre school. So I'm ready to move on, and I'm going to support it if we have a motion. And Charlie is calling me again. I just want y'all to see. Do you see his name on my phone?
Hands free. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll
I will second it. Okay. There's Vice Mayor. And Charlie's calling again. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other comments? Any commissioners like to make some comments on this?
Let me make a comment, Paul. The city iPad is still ringing here to my left. Jonesboro needs a new school. I mean, I don't think anybody disagrees with that, but so does Johnson City. Need new schools. And this is really not a vote that I feel good about. My inclination all along would be to challenge the approach to the funding, but unfortunately all the information and advice that we're getting at least brings me to the conclusion that the only people that would be hurt in an extended court battle would be children of the county and children of the city. It's really my hope that this relationship between the city and county would be such that we never find ourselves in this situation again. And I'm going to support moving forward with this.
Thank you, Commissioner Calhoun. Anyone else? Okay, Ms. Jennings, if you call the roll.
Commissioner Calhoun,
Yes.
Commissioner Fowler,
Reluctantly, but yes.
Commissioner Hunter,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Wise,
Yes.
Mayor Brock.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This takes us to the public input section of your agenda.
Okay, Mrs. Graham, is there anyone in our waiting room in the green room?
No, ma'am.
For public input? Okay, no one is in the green room, so I opened and closed the public input time. Next.
All right, next order of business is the manager's report, and we'll start. Janet, if you'd like to walk us through the financials, please, ma'am.
Okay, I think Charlie's calling. I'm going to jump right to the financial statistics because it gives a good overview of our two largest revenue sources. We did the 1st of November finally get property taxes billed. We were very late receiving that file from the state. The virus seems to have affected a lot of things across the state and in fact across the country, but it did affect our property tax billing this year as far as the timing of it. But I am happy to say that we did see some growth. So we grew at not quite 1%, but 0.61%. But when you compare that with where we have budgeted the current year property tax, we should be, in fact, I would estimate we come in $100,000 better than budget on the current year's property tax billing. So we're looking good there. The state assessed property taxes, which is your public utilities, those will not be billed until December. We have to await that file from the state. So we'll report on that later. It generally runs $700,000 or $800,000, so it's far less than our regular county assessed billing. So we were happy with how that billing came in. So on the current and delinquent collections, those are showing just a little bit of softness, but I wouldn't be too concerned about that at this point. It's really early in the year and the budgets were very conservative. So I have no concerns about the collection of delinquent taxes. The Chancery Court has been extremely effective in those collections as well as the Clerk of Master's office. So they'll continue in those efforts. As far as our sales tax, I'm happy also to report we have 2 months worth of actual retail sales tax collection information. And I may have mentioned this last time, I don't remember, but August, traditionally we have the large NASCAR race in Bristol, and that brings a lot of traffic through Johnson City. And we have very healthy sales tax collections during that month. With the absence of that race in August, as you'll recall, that got delayed until September, and it's going to be it was a very, very scaled back race as far as the number of spectators in the arena. I don't have those numbers yet, but as far as August and having the lack of that race, we were only down in sales tax collections 0.44%. or $8,000. So that was extraordinarily good news. As far as the August year-to-date sales tax collections, year over year for 2 months, we're up 2.24%. So I was very happy to see that. The budget was put in very conservative, so we're 16% up to budget through 2 months. We will be very curious to see what the December numbers look like once we get past Christmas, but judging from the traffic on the roads and the traffic in the parking lots at the retail establishments and the way the online sales taxes are coming in right now, barring an economic downturn or something else, I do not foresee us having any difficulty in the area of sales tax. We did receive our reimbursement through the CARES Act for, there were two different allocations that we had an opportunity to claim. We received one allocation earlier in the year. The second allocation was for reimbursement of certain expenses. And so we did get our allocation of a little over $1 million. We were able to provide acceptable documentation to claim that entire amount. Essentially, they opened it up at some point and allowed us to claim public safety salaries because those folks were heavily involved in a lot of the efforts that were going on during COVID, and they still do. So they allowed us to count those salaries. So essentially, from mid-March to mid-May, we were able to claim all of those public safety salaries. And like I said, that money's in the bank. We received it. So we are currently working with FEMA to try to get some reimbursement for some other things. Those criteria change from week to week, but we're continuing to work with them to make sure that we meet those criteria. Just one note on the bond refunding and the new money issue that you took action on earlier in the meeting. I did have a ratings call with Moody's, and I'm happy to say that they did give us our AA2 rating. We were very happy that we once again got that rating. That still keeps us with 3 AA ratings. And they did include a new section in the questionnaire directly related to the virus. And in talking to the analyst, he indicated that our experience with sales tax as far as the temporary dip and the quick recovery was very indicative of how the South has reported on sales tax. So we're pretty consistent with our brothers and sisters in the South on how the virus impacted the sales tax collections. They do continue to make note that our stable economic base and the presence of ETSU, our solid financial position and our healthy reserves make us a very good credit-worthy entity to invest in. So anyway, I'm happy to take any questions. All the other funds of the city look to be in good shape at this point into the year. So it's a really cautiously positive first quarter report.
Pete, thanks for having Janet speak to the financials. And Janet, you mentioned the Bristol race and the lack there, or the reduction, I guess, as far as the number of people coming in. And on page 7 of the monthly report on financial statements with the hotel motel tax, can you speak a little bit to that as to where we are in comparison in respect to the Bristol race, up, down, flat?
We've
And
seen.
I don't mean to put you on the spot and say.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm looking at the year over year. We are down through the first 3 months of the year. We are down about 40% on hotel occupancy tax. Fortunately, I'm going to get to that. That is not one of our largest revenue sources. So the budget is about 2 million. So compared to, 90 million of revenues, it's a small amount, but still concerning. We watch every line item, but we are off about $280,000 through the first 3 months of the fiscal year.
I'm assuming, though, over the calendar year versus the fiscal year, that we are seeing that increase as far as occupancy tax revenue as things have opened up.
Definitely picked up, over the last 3 months as compared to when things were closed down and people were not traveling. We're definitely seeing a pickup in activity. And
then jumping back to just overall with sales tax, you mentioned that you feel good about that, but some of the things I've been reading, I guess nationally, there's some concern with heading into the holiday season and the lack of additional federal assistance for individuals. Any insight or comments there by chance?
Well, we have continued to see good activity despite the additional federal subsidy on unemployment tax kind of going away. Our local unemployment rate is slightly lower than the state average. I couldn't tell you exactly what, it's like 4 point something. So it's, and it's come way down, just like, nationwide and statewide. I think the state of Tennessee continues to fare better than the majority of the country on sales tax and on unemployment rate. So I think the strength of our state has helped us locally as well.
I appreciate that. And I think Mayor, this past weekend was Small Business Weekend, correct?
I think it was, yeah. Yep.
I just encourage everybody to think every weekend is Small Business and weekend, and buy local and support, your neighbors. Thank you, Janet.
Absolutely.
Put your mask on and go shop for sure. Yeah, and I just want to say too, Pete and Bob and Janet, there are many cities who are sitting giving a report similar to this, but not with near the results that we have. And I think one of the things that has helped us so much as the COVID hit early this year was kind of the strong financial position that we were in and the resiliency I think that we built into to our budget. But we always hear too, and I think the bond agencies, rating agencies like to see our fund balance a little bit higher. So I think in 2022 we need to give that serious consideration about how we try to get additional money into the fund balance, as it becomes available. But thank y'all so much. You keep the checkbook away from us as much as you can, so I'm sure that probably helps.
Thank you.
Okay. Pete, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Going back to Commissioner Hunter's comments, I think you all have heard me say this before. The $600 unemployment augmentation from the feds and the $1,200 checks that went out to folks in the spring and the summer, I think were a big help to keeping, in particular, our local economy very strong. Like the articles that Commissioner Hunter referenced, I'm cautiously optimistic about Christmas season because those federal funds aren't available right now. And we collect the vast majority of our sales tax collections November to February or March. So, I think when we get past the first of the year, we'll have a little better feel for how much of an impact the lack of those federal funds is going to have on our sales tax collections. As Janet pointed out, the unemployment rate in, I don't remember if it's Washington County or the Johnson City MSA, is about 5%. I was on a Zoom call earlier today, and Alicia Summers was sharing that in her conversations with local manufacturing firms, they have over 200 jobs that they're trying to fill currently. So, in talking to other business owners around town, there's a lot of jobs out there open and a lot of employers looking for employees right now. So we need to figure out how to put the supply with the demand a little better than what the current situation is. And I think we've got some stability for our local economy going forward, and hopefully things will pick up. And once we develop a larger amount of herd immunity as it relates to the virus, then people will be more comfortable and there will be more economic activity going on. So we're hopeful. A couple of other things I want to bring to your attention. As you remember, we've talked about the child care center that we've worked to get open out at the Bench Creek Elementary School building. That is open. I saw some pictures today that where there were students in the building. I think there's somewhere 45 or 50 students in the building this week. So we're really glad to have that open. That's going to be a lot of help to folks who need someone to help their child during the day while they're at work. Phil is, Summers Taylor is wrapping up the paving that we're going to do for this calendar year. Probably another 2 or 3 weeks and they'll be completed. If you'll recall, you reallocated $1 million back to the paving budget beyond what we had budgeted. That would take that paving total to about $4.3 million this year. It looks like by the time the asphalt plant's shut down here in a couple of weeks, we will have expended about $3.5 million of that 4.3. There's still a couple of streets that you've probably seen, for instance, out off Broadway to the east of Broadway there, that are milled and ready for paving. Those should get paved here in the next week or so. And there are a couple of other subdivisions that we've got planned to pave, but it looks like it's going to be winter or spring before we can get to those. The Reedy Creek project is moving nicely. I understand one of the contractors has 2 or 3 crews on site working. The other contractors making very good progress. We have taken in-house crews and gotten water to the site. So we met and exceeded our obligation in terms of the timing of having water available. That subdivision out off Highland Church Road is coming together pretty quickly. That's going to be a really nice development for us. Charlie and Bob have been working real closely with Sonny and Brenda Whitson and Andy to get the bylaws for the CVB together. I think that we're really close to having a version that's ready for your consideration. We will try our best to get that before you in 2 weeks so that you can look at those bylaws and we can get that organization stood up and get it moving forward. We have already received the departmental CIP request. We've met once to review those, and we've got another meeting tomorrow to refine that a little bit further. So sometime in December or perhaps the first meeting in January, we'll bring the CIP to you for your review and comments. We have distributed your strategic plan to the different members of the leadership team, and they've been instructed to begin working on that and to evaluate additional steps and goals and objectives addressing specific issues and to begin putting together some implementation steps. We'll be meeting together as a leadership team in 2 weeks to spend a couple hours working on that and to continue keeping that moving along. So, we're coming up on the holidays, but we've got a whole lot of work going on and getting a whole lot accomplished right now. So we're trying to keep it moving, and we'll be glad to take any questions that you may have or any comments you may have.
Pete, you might want to just do a quick update on the History Circle and the Natural Playground. It's really moving along.
Yes, ma'am. I apologize. I forgot about those. The History Circle, they've had to make some modifications to the base to it, which were completed earlier this week. And I believe that they're actually laying the inscribed stones at the History Circle. The vast majority, if not all, of the playground equipment is installed. The stone base is in place there at the playground area. Our concrete crews will be in there for the next couple of weeks doing the final sidewalks and concrete borders and whatnot. And the artificial surface that goes in and that and around the playground will be installed as well over the next couple of weeks. So feels very hopeful that we can be completed with the playground area sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And hopefully the contractor will be completed with the History Circle as well. So we're really excited about getting that project completed and giving everybody a chance to see what a great thing and a good investment we've made downtown. I know the folks at the library are really excited about having that to use next spring when the weather gets better.
Peter, y'all still considering one thing, I think in the original project plan was not any kind of fencing around the playground. Are y'all still looking at that just for security purposes?
Yes, ma'am. We are definitely looking at it. And, I think that's something that we really need to do for a variety of reasons. Speaking of security, I've also asked Public Works, and they've been working on this for a couple of weeks now, to look at security and lighting, and perhaps when I say security, perhaps it's manpower, perhaps it's cameras. But in the downtown area, we've got some areas down there I think would have a much different feel if it was better illuminated. So I've got Phil and Anthony and his folks looking at what can be done, what's it going to cost, how would we do it, and hopefully we'll have a plan together here sometime after the first year that we can all sit down and look at, and that will hopefully address security and lighting in the downtown area.
Thank you. Any other questions of Pete? Okay. I guess that was our last item. We'll just go to commission comments and wrap this thing up. Commissioner Hunter, you want to start first? Anything going on your committees or anything?
Mayor, I feel like you're picking on me tonight. I'm just kidding.
I can see you in the frame this time, not the top of your head.
Nothing with committees or boards as far as city boards and committees. But I will make mention, and Larry and Pete, feel free to jump in at any time and either correct me with some of my numbers or facts and comments. But earlier today, the three of us were on a Zoom call for the Ballard Southwest Market Advisory Board, where we got updates as far as COVID and how it's impacting the healthcare system here locally and our community. And if I understood correctly, roughly 20% of the capacity of hospital beds are currently allocated and being used for patients with severe COVID diagnoses. Their expectation is in December that will double. And you all, as the commissioner, are aware, but maybe not the community. Personally, I did test positive for COVID several weeks ago, and I'm very fortunate that although I did have the majority of the symptoms that are related to COVID, I've obviously recovered and done very well. But it is a real disease or ailment. The symptoms can be very significant, and it can hit anybody of any age. And we heard of those that of varying ages and health levels that have had significant issues with COVID within the hospital. So again, I just encourage everybody to, practice, social distancing, washing their hands, wearing a mask, and continuing to care for those around you. It's not just about yourself, but it's for those in our community to protect everyone. And I don't mean to jump line, but Pete, Larry, y'all were on that call and probably picked up some other tidbits of information that I'm leaving out.
There's a lot of comment too about the vaccines can't get here fast enough. And plans are being made all across the world, really, in the US and in our area, for the first round of injections. And certainly the healthcare workers are going to be first in line. We need those people protected as soon as we possibly can. I won't quote the numbers because I don't remember them exactly, but there's a significant number of ballot employees at any point in time that are either quarantined or home ill, or, I mean, they're putting themselves on the line every single day. And all they're asking of us is to try our best to not have to use their resources. So I'm glad John brought it up. We don't think we're anywhere near the peak on this as far as hospitalizations, and their metrics show that deaths follow that. And I doubt anybody on this screen is exempt from having somebody close to them that they're worried about right now.
Right. I think and thank you, John, for bringing this up. And I think we ought to go ahead and make a couple comments about, Thanksgiving coming up. And we know what CDC and the White House task force is recommending, to not travel, but to keep your group very small. No big holidays with your family. And, we hate to say that, but so much of it, as I've shared with y'all, 6 cases in my own family just because they had dinner together several weeks ago. So there's so much community spread now in the community. You just have to assume wherever you go, somebody in there could certainly be carrying the virus. So we'll pile on with the people who are saying, please keep your Thanksgiving small, your celebrations at home. Outdoors if you can, maybe be warm, you can have a picnic outside or something, but we just really make that plea for people. And we still know there are people out there who don't want to wear masks, and we just want to make, again, the plea to do so. It's a small sacrifice to make to protect. Now they're saying it does protect you as well, but to protect others. So we all have to stay safe, be careful, and take care of each other. Pete, did you have anything you wanted to add to that since you were on the call?
Well, there are hundreds, perhaps thousands of people in the medical profession that are working very long, extended shifts, double shifts. They're working on normal days off. Everybody's shorthanded. Everybody's having to go in and put on their battle gear for the day and go in to environments that are really sick people. There's quite an emotional toll on healthcare workers as well, due to the number of deaths that they're having to deal with the fact that there are patients that can't see their family members in their last hours of life. The fact that, they run the risk of taking something home to their 3-year-old, their 83-year-old, their spouse. It's a very taxing and trying time on the healthcare industry right now. And it's, we talked today, what can we do as a community? Well, we can do smart, we can live smart. We can show our appreciation when you see a doctor, a nurse, a radiologist, whomever, take the time to say thank you. Sometimes I think we forget how far sincere, honest recognition and appreciation can go. There's physical issues associated with this, and there's quite a bit of mental health issues. Several of us have school-age children, and the times that they're home for weeks at a time, I can certainly tell a difference in my kids' attitudes and perspectives on things. So we need to work together to help one another, support each other. And, as has been said before, our main objective is to not have to use the resources of the Valley Health System right now, because they've got all they can handle and then some right now. And as Dr. Calhoun pointed out, their metrics show that we're not close to the peak of this thing as we go through the winter, and we need to stay focused. We really do. We've, as everyone's probably aware, we're doing a virtual turkey trot this year. There are a number of events that have been scheduled that have been postponed or rescheduled, and community spread is a real thing. I know several people that have ended up with COVID as a result of being around family members or people that they are accustomed to being around and trust and whatnot, and the spread just happens. It's not like you can see it coming. It's, there's no visible sign of it. You've got it before you know that it has a hold of you. So I'll be quiet. We need to work smart here.
So let me add one other group here. I had a long conversation with Dr. Barnett from Johnson City Schools this week. And the same thing's true with teachers. They're out on the front lines too, and they are having to deal with so much. And how many classrooms are, somebody gets it, they're on quarantine, they're trying to teach in person and online, and trying to take care of our kids in just these very stressful times. And so they're exhausted as well as our own city employees who are dealing in a very different time. So to what Pete said, I think, the best thing we can do is just be kind to one another and thank people, because we know they're doing extraordinary things in very uncertain times. But let's keep our teachers in mind as well. They're having a tough time. All right, Commissioner Fowler, anything you want to add?
Well, there are a lot of bad things going on, but one thing, my youngest daughter's 22nd birthday is today, so we're about to have dinner and cake for her. So 6 of us total, so close family members. But anyway, the COVID is touching everybody. I mean, that's one thing we got to remember. And luckily, I'm at my office and not at the hospital as much as some of my partners are. And we've got a bunch of employees that are exposed to people every day in my office. We've got nobody doing elective surgery with an overnight stay, which is about 40% of our surgeries, and we're in our 3rd week of that. So the waiting line is getting longer and longer for people, and they're frustrated, and it's just a tough time for lots of people. So the being nice to people, we've got to remember, you don't know what anybody else is putting up with or having to deal with right now. So try and pass that along to everybody that you see.
Vice Mayor?
COVID's bad. Masks are good. Thanksgiving will just be the people I live with. So if you think this public health advice that people are giving doesn't apply to the people who are giving it, know that that's not the case. If you're not taking it seriously because you don't yet know someone who's got it, don't let this be what convinces you it's real. We work with a tradesman here in town who took it very casually, kind of joked about it. It's all a farce. And he and many of his friends in their church treated it as a farce until a lot of them got really, really sick. And so don't wait to experience it to believe it's real.
I'll kind of end it up with 2 or 3 things that are going on that, is still looking forward, moving ahead. Tomorrow is World Child Day, and we'll be releasing a press release and some videos to talk about our Child Friendly City initiative. I think it'll be on Facebook. I think Keisha will send out something. It'll be on Facebook Live tomorrow afternoon at 3. And so that's very positive. You know, one of the things, as we've had to cancel so many of the beloved events like the turkey trot, there'll be no Christmas parade. And so several of us kind of got together and said, well, we can't let the Grinch steal Christmas. What can we do for the kids? Because our children are suffering too. I mean, I just watch my own grandchildren and they're in quarantine right now themselves because of school. But Phil Pinzola a few years ago had suggested we put Christmas trees all around town. And so we kind of went back to that theme with the blue plum, and everybody kind of got their heads together. And there will be Christmas in the park, in Founders Park, and there will be 60 Christmas trees in Founders Park that businesses around town are, you know, buying, just like they do the floats in the Christmas parade, and decorate each one of the trees uniquely. So that will be small groups, families can walk through and see the trees, or they can ride by on Commerce or even State of Franklin and see the just the all the trees that'll be there. So at least we'll be doing something to bring smiles to people's faces. The big tree's up already, but we'll do just a virtual lighting of that one along with the trees in the park. So downtown is starting to look festive, and hopefully people will just start driving through and enjoying that. Let's see. And then we did do a ribbon cutting for the Caffeination at Liberty Bell. And so that was a long time project that I know Commissioner Hunter worked on when he was on the school board. I worked on when I was on the school board, and it finally came to fruition. And then we've all been working on of late. And so it's a really nice facility, but it was great ribbon cutting today. So anyway, let's everybody have a very safe Thanksgiving. And I think this is the time, as Larry said, we're all beginning to know people who are very sick, and it should humble us to really think of what's important at this time of year. Be thankful for everyone that we know and we love and that we serve. And let's have a safe time, and all start saying our prayers regularly. So if there's nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting.